Ladies and gentlemen, good evening once again. Good evening to all of you. In international news, there are tears being shed at the International Atomic Energy Agency. There are tears on the western side. Iran has closed all doors, and the strategy used by Iran has allowed it to avoid the total destruction of the hard work it has put in to acquire nuclear capabilities. Iran has consistently used various aggressive tactics that have significantly hurt the interests of the West. They came and then they effectively struck the Fordo site, a critical nuclear facility. Then they failed at first, and afterwards they imposed a ceasefire. And then it was over quickly. No one could have imagined that the conflict could end as quickly as it did. It's over. Meanwhile, the Iranian parliament voted to end Iran's cooperation with the International Atomic Energy Agency. It has been formalized. Iran has suspended its cooperation with the IAEA. That has been the case since yesterday. Now, the problem is that the director, Rafael Mariano Grossi, I think that's his name, Rafael Grossi had requested right after the ceasefire that he be given permission to go and inspect the new site where Iran's nuclear material is located, since Iran had claimed that everything was intact. Yes, that's what Iran had said. Except in the last 3 hours, about 3 hours ago, I believe it was the Iranian foreign minister who said that they have completely destroyed their site. That they haven't completely destroyed it, but that they have severely damaged their nuclear facility. So at first, he said Fordo, but then he came back to clarify that it was Isfahan and Natanz. So here is what he had to say. Here is what the minister had to say. Iran now acknowledges that their nuclear facilities were hit, and this, we understand, is a communication strategy. It is a real communication strategy on Iran's part. Now, Iran is making it seem as if everything has been destroyed. In any case, they have damaged it. But deep down, Iran is saying this to keep things calm so people will leave them alone. Since Iran has closed the door to the International Atomic Energy Agency, this gentleman can no longer come to inspect anything. So Iran now has complete freedom to properly develop its nuclear program. Properly. Even now, this is what worries the Western world, but especially the International Atomic Energy Agency. So Mr. Rafael Grossi's statement is laughable. And is this statement, yes, this is the gold mean that we're going to talk about in this video conference. But before we continue, I humbly ask you to share this video conference as much as possible. Give it lots of likes. And above all, don't forget to always leave a comment with your thoughts. Let's dive deeper. It says this: Ili, the world doesn't know exactly where Iran's enriched uranium is located. He says the world doesn't know exactly where Iran's enriched uranium is, which is close to weapons. Grade that is uranium that is already ready to become an atomic bomb. He says that today the world doesn't know where it is. He says this: in times of war, all nuclear sites are shut down. No inspections, no normal activities can take place. And that's why we need to be very vigilant. We have lost the ability to track this material. So this has been the case since the period of war, during the conflict. There was no movement, etc. So that's when they lost control of this material. They couldn't move around. And the worst part is that Iran has just closed the door. So he says, there you go. He says, we have lost the ability to track this material. Yes, and it is imperative that we are able to resume inspection activities as soon as possible to obtain credible assurances that the material has not been diverted. So for him, the material has been diverted or something like that. They want to resume control activities over Iran, but Iran has already closed the door. And so he laments when the Westerners, through this gentleman, say that they have lost the ability to track this material. Listen, it confirms the triple failure of the United States of America. What did they want? Firstly, what is the first failure? The Americans wanted to completely destroy it. They couldn't. They announced that they had destroyed it. But in reality, they did not destroy it. Iran had already moved it. So that's the first failure. The second failure, they announced that the two states had reached a ceasefire agreement. That was false. The world eventually realized that they had imposed a ceasefire on themselves, which Iran also accepted. The third and very serious failure is that the equipment they wanted to destroy, they no longer know where it is. So if they want to destroy it again, as Donald Trump said, because Donald Trump said, if they try to resume enrichment, we will strike again. How would they know? If it's classified as top secret, like what Pyongyang was doing with Kim Jong-un, he enriched his uranium in a very secretive way. It was only when he felt like it that he showed images of the facilities on television. And America started to worry. Iran can keep quiet. And then this time, what will Iran be able to do? For the first time, the facility was buried underground at 90 meters. 90 meters is not much. They will choose another rockier mountain. They can, I was going to say, choose another rockier mountain and go more than 200 meters deep, where no bomb, no matter how powerful, can reach. What happened gave Iran some intelligence. And Iran will never say where it is located. And every time they are asked to cooperate to show this or that, they can refuse. First of all, cooperation is suspended. Even if cooperation has been destroyed, there's nothing left. Meanwhile, Iran will continue to develop slowly but surely, and that's what worries the West, especially the International Atomic Energy Agency. So, ladies and gentlemen, that was today's top story. Thank you for sharing it as much as possible. I'll be back with more updates shortly. This was the voice of your one and only Samurai.